Okay, so let's take a look at 5.7, the cosine law. And it says the cosine law can be used to solve any triangle when given. So if you have a non-90 degree triangle, you cannot use SOHCAHTOA or the trig ratio. So you got to either use the sine law or the cosine law. So the cosine law can be used to solve any triangle when given the measures of two sides and the contained angle. Okay, so the measures of two sides and the contained angle, which would look like this. Okay, so here's A, B, C. And let's say they gave you two side lengths. This is 6 centimeters, this is 9 centimeters, and this is 53 degrees. Then you can use, obviously, the cosine law because you have two side lengths and the contained angle, in which case you would use this formula here to find the other side. Or if you have the measures of three sides. So if you have the measurements of three sides, let's say this is triangle DEF, and this is 10 meters, this is 12 meters, and this is 11 meters, you can use all three sides in this formula to figure out one of the angles. Okay? So you got to memorize these two formulas, and you have to be able to interchange the letters. So example 1, in triangle DEF, angle D is that, little e is that, and little f is that. Find little d to the nearest tenth. So I'm just going to draw a plain old triangle, always the same way I draw them. I draw them in theory, I do not draw them obviously to scale. So angle D is 97.4. Clearly this does not look like 97.4, but that's 97.4. Little e is 3.9 meters. Little f, across from big F, is 2.5 meters. So this is what I'm given. Now, I don't have 90 degrees in my triangle. I have two side lengths, so I can't use SOHCAHTOA, but I have two side lengths and the angle that's in between, or the angle that's contained. So therefore, I have to use the cosine law, not the sine law, the cosine law. If I went to use the sine law, I wouldn't have a fraction, both top and bottom of a fraction. So I'm going to use the cosine law, and I'm going to use this. Except I'm looking for little d. So instead of A's, B's, and C's, I'm going to have a little d here looking for little d. Notice little a is here, big A is here. So for me, little d is going to be here, and big D is going to be here. So this is going to be little d squared is equal to little e squared plus little f squared minus 2EF cos of big D. Continuing this, this is d squared is equal to little e squared, which is 3.9 squared, plus little f squared, which is 2.5 squared, minus 2 times e, which is 3.9, times f, which is 2.5, times the cos of, and in this case, it's 97.4. And so I'm going to have to do d squared is equal to 3.9 squared is 15.21. And 2.5 squared is going to be 6.25 minus. Now, I'm going to do this all in one shot, actually. I won't write the minus here. I'll do this all in one shot. It's going to be negative 2 times 3.9 times 2.5 times the cos of 97.4. So that's what I'm going to plug in my calculator. Okay, I'm going to write negative 2 times 3.9 times 2.5 times the cos of 97.4. And notice I have a calculator number 1 because cos came up. If you have a calculator 2, you'd actually have to do 97.4 cos, then times that, and times negative 2. So when I do this, press equals, I get positive 2.5115414133. It's a positive number. Now, if I add all these things together, I'll have to add the 6.25 and add a 15.21, and I'm going to get 97.57401413. Now, it says to round to the nearest tenth, so 1 decimal place. If I take the square root of both sides, you'll get rid of the square here, and so taking the square root is going to be of the answer is going to give me 9.9 meters, okay, when I round correctly. So D is 9.9, so this is equal to 9.9. Now obviously, after you come up to this point here, if it asks you to solve the triangle, of course, now you can use the sine law, because you have an angle and its opposite side, and you have, I can find another angle with its opposite side. So you can use the sine law, but be careful when you're using the sine law in the ambiguous case. So let's take a look at example 2. And example 2 says, in triangle ABC, little a is this, little b is that, and little c is that. So in triangle 2, again, I always draw my triangles the exact same, ABC. Little a across from big A is 9.6 meters. Little b across from big B is 20.6 meters. And little c across from big C is 14.7 meters. Find the largest angle, round to the nearest degree. So the largest angle obviously is going to be across from the largest side. So the largest angle, according to this picture, this is the largest side, so largest angle has to be angle B. So I'm looking for angle B. And of course, I'm going to be using this formula here because, again, this is not a 90-degree triangle, so you cannot use trig ratios. So you have to either use the sine or cosine law. You wouldn't be able to use the sine law because you don't have a complete fraction, an angle, and its opposite side. So you have to obviously use the cosine law when given 3 side measures to figure out an angle. When you're given 3 side measures to figure out an angle, I'd use this cosine law here, which is the same as this except just rearranged. So cos A is equal to all this. The only other time you see an A is here. So since I'm looking for B, it's going to read cos B, where the only time I see B is over here. So you've got to be able to rewrite this. So it's actually cos B is equal to little a squared plus little c squared minus little b squared all over 2 times AC. And now continuing this, I get cos of B is equal to little a, which is 9.6 all squared, plus little c, which is 14.7 all squared, minus little b, which is 20.6 all squared, all over 2 times a, which is 9.6, times c, which is 14.7. So cos of b is equal to, I'll figure out all these numbers at the top by doing 9.6 squared plus 14.7 squared minus 20.6 squared. And I'll get on the top negative 116.11, and on the bottom I'm going to do 2 times 9.6 times 14.7, and I will get 282.24. Now that I have this, I can continue this. I'm going to get cos of B is equal to, and you can either figure out this number, or if you don't like to figure out that number, in actuality, you can leave that answer as whatever it is on your calculator. So for me, I'd go negative 116.11 divided by 282.24, and I get some answer, which is that. I'm not going to write that, I'll just write answer. And if I do the cos inverse of this answer, right, because bringing the cos over, if I do the cos inverse of this answer, how do I do that on my calculator? Well, I'd press second function cos, and the answer button is right over the equal sign here of the answer, and I get B is equal to 114, and it asks me nearest degree, so 114 degrees. So therefore, B is 114 degrees. That's the largest angle in this triangle with these measurements.